Back when we were dating and getting really close to, okay, is the relationship going to result in marriage? I had to make a decision. I had to decide whether or not I was going to propose. Naturally, you know that we're married now, so I did. But the thing that weighed on me the most was making sure that I asked in a way that was going to be memorable and meaningful, and that the ring reflected that moment and was just as memorable and reflective of our relationship. And I would like to share with you the story of how I designed my wife's ring for her. Back when we started dating, I had gotten her a two-tone rose gold and white gold diamond necklace that's in the shape of a cross. I wanted to reflect that same two-tone design, rose gold and white gold, in her ring. Amanda's patron saint is Saint Rose of Lima. So, rose is very meaningful to her. In wanting to make something that represented us, we were a couple of nerds dating. We like to talk an awful lot about chemistry and physics. Amanda was the chemistry nerd and I was the physics nerd. One day I got to share one of my favorite physicists of all time in his discovery. The physicist is de Broglie, and the discovery is de Broglie wavelength. He wrote his thesis over the idea that massless particles could have momentum, and if you could set the momentum of a massless particle equal to the momentum of something that had mass, then you could solve for a waveform for a particle with mass. It's complicated. It's the birth of quantum mechanics. If you're a nerd like me, it's something that gets you very excited. But the concept of a wavelength for a mass particle and where you have a wave indicates where that particle could exist. It led us to referring to each other as each other's particles, the same wavelength, but existing differently. Just like it's said that when you get married, you're one flesh, you're one unit, you're bound together spiritually. So we called each other my other particle. So I designed a ring where the diamond was at the node of the wavelength, and there's a little rose gold sine wave that covers two little trillions that are adjacent to the diamond. And the two little trillions were to represent us in the relationship, and the diamond was to represent God at the center of the relationship, at the node, holding the waveform together. I thought that was really symbolic of who we were as a couple, how important our faith was to us, and it represented everything that I could have hoped to be in a ring in one thing. The problem was is no such setting exists, so I had to have it designed from scratch. Having a custom setting port isn't the most frugal way to go. However, if I were to get the setting designed separately and have it done at a deal, and I find the diamond wholesale, and I purchased the trillions as something that would be less expensive, I ended up going with man-made moissanite, which, if you look it up, is almost as hard as diamond and makes a much brighter sparkle of rainbow through it. They call it fire. And by arranging the setting, I could make it look like the diamond was bigger than it was, and I could do it in a way that would cost me an awful lot less buying a setting of an equivalent caliper. The ring on the whole, I had it appraised after it was all done and I had gotten all the different pieces together for it, and it appraised for about double the amount of money that I put in to have the ring made. In the end, designing the ring turned out to be a very frugal and beautiful way for me to put an engagement ring together. And it was something that I loved doing. It was something that was meaningful then, It was meaningful at the engagement, and it's still meaningful now. One thing that was really fun is my wife got to design a matching wedding ring for me, which has the same waveform but shifted by a third of a phase in triplicate. There's one wave that has the rose gold and the white gold together, so it waves. And then the other two waves are etched in, and together they resemble a trinity of waves or three-phase power. I had just gotten started with a career as an electrical engineer, designing hospitals and skyscrapers. So having something that not only matched our relationship, matched her ring, but matched my education and engineering was something that was very special and meaningful for me. And I remember we had the rings done at the same jeweler. We walked in one day to get them cleaned after the fact, and one of the ladies at the jeweler recognized us and said, "Oh, oh, this is the couple that has my favorite ring that we've ever done." And I was like, "Oh, this she must have really liked the ring I designed." And she's like, "It's my favorite wedding band that's ever been done for a man in our store." They really liked the ring that my wife designed for me too. And I think that thought carries over into the way that we hold our marriage together, in the way that we communicate about everything that matters to us in our marriage. It pours over into the way that we budget together.